Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Anthony podcast. And today I'm joined by SP3 from the True Healing YouTube channel and a load of other different places. So, how you doing today, mate?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on, Anthony. I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to get. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you. Talk to you, my friends.
Yes, always a good time when I'm able to talk to you, chat with you, whether it's here, whether it's on social media, man.
Yeah. So, so would you mind explaining exactly what true heel heat is?
Well, True Hill Heat is a YouTube channel and a podcast I started with my friends in New York City back in 2017. We, saw a bunch of like the different wrestling YouTube channels around, whether it be like the What Culture or your Wrestle Talk, but we didn't see a lot of, people that look like us from different backgrounds, whether that be African American, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Indian. There is such a wide range of different backgrounds, nationalities, ethnicities that watch professional wrestling, and we just didn't see enough representation at the time that we started True Hill Heat, and we wanted to be a part of that representation because of a lot of our conversations that we would have about professional wrestling, whether it be in a public restaurant or at an event, would always catch someone's attention or their ear, their eye, and they would start getting into the conversation or the discussion with us. So we kind of sensed that that was something that we could use as far as with a podcast, and certain, people in our group had different chemistry, and myself and top guy JJ, who's been my co-host on the podcast for over the past now going on 6 years. He basically, we always used to argue about different things and always showed a bunch of passion and had funny, one liners and takes and opinions going back and forth with one another. And we just wanted to capture that in a podcast. So we started doing the podcast on Facebook Live. From there, after about 9-10 episodes, we shifted to starting our YouTube channel where we would put the podcast on there. And then around like 2019, we wanted to do more and wanted to do different shows, not just the flagship podcast that we did every other week at that time. We wanted to do reviews for different shows and watch alongs and funnier videos. So we got more of our friends on board, and that's when we really became like a full-fledged YouTube channel. Because even when we started the YouTube channel, we were just putting the podcast on there after we, streamed it live on Facebook. So it was kind of like a pre-recorded podcast on a YouTube channel. It wasn't a real YouTube channel with different shows, different personalities. But when we made that change and brought more people on board, like Romeo, like Sober Guy JJ, Josh, Ness, Chris G, Stat King, we created more personalities, and our growth really started there. And that's when our YouTube channel really started to grow and get more attention, and started to see further growth for the individuals a part of the YouTube channel as well. So True Heel Heat is basically it's being a true heel is basically just saying how you feel about professional wrestling and not caring what people say otherwise about it. You're going to have your opinion and you're entitled to your opinion, but you got to say it with your chest and not back away from your opinion. So being a true heel is about always saying how you feel and not caring about the reaction to it.
I completely agree with that. So if we go back to your journey growing up, did you have any aspiration to be in the broadcasting space, or was it just like this sounds like it will be cool? Let's just do it.
When I was up, when I was really young, I wanted to be a pro wrestler and used to, think about, oh, what type of character would I be and stuff like that. And, plenty of times created myself in video games from WrestleMania 2000 all the way to like the SmackDown series on PS. I wasn't where I really thought about broadcasting is until I really got into like sports very heavy when I was in like high school and then went into college and I basically my degree was in sports management. So I had the goal of either being a sports agent, a sportscaster, or like a sports anchor. I was like something along those lines. So as far as like broadcasting, it came from sports, and I was a big basketball fan. So I used to mute a lot of the basketball games I used to watch when I was younger and do the play-by-play for them. I really did not think about being a wrestling broadcaster until like I got into the wrestling podcast and YouTube game is when I actually, thought like, oh yeah, I probably could dabble in this, but no opportunities have come yet.
So, 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 so when did you feel like true heel heat as a concept came into its own?
Like I said, I think it really came into its own when we expanded the channel at the end of 2019. We just really it was a friend of mine that actually, sat down with me and asked me if I wanted constructive criticism on the YouTube channel before that. And the one thing he said in his big constructive criticism at that time was, "You're not doing enough." He was like, I know you have a lot more to say about wrestling, and you're only touching on certain things in the hour or 2 hours that you do your flagship podcast. But what about if you did a review for this show or did a review for that show? Or what if you gave he was friends with two of my friends that I brought on the team, Jimmy Macaram and Marcus Cash, and he was like, why don't you have them do their own review show, because they have their own chemistry. So if it wasn't for my very good friend, I could mention him here, Steve Stash, the expansion of the True Hill Heat and where we really started really finding ourselves as a YouTube channel wouldn't have really started. And if you're not going to go back to that kind of initial phase when we really started bringing aboard and expanding our YouTube channel, I would say the pandemic really was a kickstart, because that's when we started doing kind of out the box things. Because, we had like a review for NXT, a review for Raw, a review for Dynamite. Then we were like, okay, we looked at other YouTube channels, and around the pandemic, I lost my job. So I started looking at other wrestling YouTube channels, and I was like, oh, well, none of these popular YouTube channels are talking about Dark Side of the Ring. And Dark Side of the Ring really at that time, especially during the pandemic in 2020, it really started becoming more and more popular. So me and my colleague, Miss Chrissy Love, we started doing a review for that. And that started getting more attention to the YouTube channel. And then when I started appearing on Wrestle Talk and got to do a podcast with Luke Owen on the main Wrestle Talk YouTube channel, and started doing Wrestling Daily with Alex McCarthy and Stephanie Chase. I think that's when we really started, building more people started finding out about us, and that's when our real growth that we're on right now really started kind of moving at a faster pace.
That I did just mention there you sometimes you do sometimes you occasionally do work with Wrestle Talk as well as other different platforms. When did you feel like you were starting to build up some credibility in the wrestling media space?
Honestly, it was when Alex McCarthy asked me to be on Wrestling Daily. Because I had never, I had gotten asked to be on different podcast prior to that, and prior to being on Wrestle Talk and getting more eyes to see me, and more people to find out about my personality. I was on like different podcasts, but nothing too big. It was when Alex McCarthy asked me to be on his show that he was going to do on a daily basis, when I was just like, okay, maybe I'm getting something here. And Alex McCarthy didn't even find out about me from Wrestle Talk. It was around the pandemic. Like I said, I was doing more for the YouTube channel because I had lost my job. So I had reached out to content creators and wrestling journalists and done interviews, in a similar fashion to what you do with other content creators. And Alex McCarthy was one of the first people that I contacted and did an interview with. And through that interview, we kind of bonded through our mutual interests and favorite wrestlers growing up. He was a huge fan of The Rock. I was a huge fan of The Rock. I hated Triple H growing up. He hated Triple H growing up. He was a big Laker fan and Kobe fan. I'm a huge Laker fan and Kobe fan. So we just related on so many different levels. Our birthdays are only 6 days apart. So that bond was already there and formed. And then as I started getting more attention from being on Wrestle Talk, the Wrestle Talk guys already knew about me. So when Alex McCarthy was approached for starting his own show on one of their secondary channels, he said that he didn't want it to be kind of the same as Wrestle Talk, where Wrestle Talk, they do amazing content, some of the best content of any wrestling YouTube channel out there. However, it is primarily white males, and that was the wrestling kind of media landscape. It was a lot of primarily white males out there, and Alex McCarthy acknowledged that and took accountability for that and said he didn't want his show to be the same as that. And he said, you can throw on one of your guys on one of the days or two of the days, but I want to bring on a female, and Stephanie Chase, who's a great writer and a great journalist and doing so much amazing work with her content, and she doesn't have that many eyes. I want to bring her on board, and I want to bring on board an African American male who is so different and unique from everybody else out there, but he hasn't been seen by a lot of people, and I want to be on there and talk wrestling with him. And that's when we kind of grew our friendship, became like a brotherhood in a lot of ways, where he's kind of the person who I view as like my mentor in this wrestling media space, because he was the first person that kind of made me realize that I was kind of building a name for my own. I would not even have my own Twitter account if it wasn't for Alex McCarthy, because I wanted to be behind the spectre of True Hill Heat. I wanted to run the True Hill Heat Twitter and not have my own Twitter. And Alex McCarthy was like, well, now that you're on Wrestling Daily and you're building your own name, you need your own Twitter account. So that's when I created my own Twitter account. So I owe Alex for that, for poisoning my mind and bringing Twitter into my individual life.
Yeah, yeah. So Twitter can sometimes be a bit too much, can't it?
Yeah.
So, so, so as you've just mentioned, how you started working with Wrestle Talker. So how did you start working with Wrestling Key? I would say Wrestling Key that would, sorry, not Sports Key that I think, I always say it wrong.
Yeah, Sports Keto was also around that time of the pandemic, or just like a couple of months after the pandemic started, where I had, I was getting unemployment at that time because I had lost my job, but I was trying to do more and create more different forms of income, because with, the YouTube channel, it's great that we're monetized and we're able to make money off of the channel, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to see a lot of that money, because I want to give back to my team. Because if it wasn't for my team, there would be no growth. We wouldn't be monetizing. So I get whatever's left over after my team is taken care of, with the money that we make from the YouTube channel and other stuff that we do now, like Patreon and other stuff like that. But I needed income for myself. I had just had twins at that time. Like the month of the pandemic started, March 2020. 7 days in, that's when my twins were born, and these were my first children. So I don't have a job, only have unemployment. I want to have something to earn money for myself. So I answered like an ad or something, or a post on social media from Sportskeeda, and I started talking to one of the guys over there, named Gary Cassidy at the time, and he's the one that hooked me up with the main management over at Sportskeeda, where I started doing writing. I was mostly doing more like feature writing, top 5, top 10 type of stuff. Then I was doing news writing for a while, so I had different roles for them. I did feature writing, news writing, and then Rick Ucchino asked me to be on their SmackDown review as he was making changes. Denise Salcedo was his previous co-host, and she had gained a new opportunity over at Figure Four Online, and Rick Ducino needed a new co-host, and he had seen some of my stuff from Wrestling Daily, Wrestle Talk, and True Hill Heat, and he asked me to be his co-host, and that has become like my main role for Sportskeeda, where I don't do a lot of the writing for them, the writing side for them. Mainly, I do just news writing for Wrestle Talk now. So I'm still working for Wrestle Talk. I do get that question sometimes from people like, "Oh, Wrestle Talk fired you and stuff." No, they just gave me a different role. I can't do on-screen content because they have their studio in the UK, and unfortunately, I'm in the US, not the UK. So that's why I don't do on-screen content for them anymore. If I move to the UK, who knows? Maybe something can change about that. But for now, I just do their news writing and their website, do their social media on occasion as well. So I still work with Wrestle Talk. So primarily my writing is focused over there. So I don't do that for Sportskeeda anymore, but I do host their SmackDown review on Friday nights following the show with Rick Ucchino and the legendary manager Dutch Mantel. So it's always a bunch of fun. We all have different opinions and different likes, dislikes when it comes to wrestling. So that's another one of my roles that I definitely enjoy and have held on to. So I do appreciate everything Sportskeeda has done for me, because a lot of my journey in wrestling media, whether writing, on screen, starts and got a lot of momentum starting with Sportskeeda. So I appreciate everyone over there. Some great people that work over there and really work hard to do the content that they do, writing and video.
So you mentioned you're a father of twins. So do you what doing what you do with wrestling media? Obviously, I can imagine it must be very time consuming. So how do you make sure you delegate your time properly and you don't spend too much time working and not being there, not being present, if you know what I mean?
I think it would be much harder for me if I was still doing a 9 to 5 job along with all the content that I do create as far as on screen and writing. It's all about balancing and finding the right balance with my partner. I have the greatest partner in the world. She's a beautiful woman that's so smart, so funny, and so caring and so supportive of what I do. And we're able to balance things out where she does have more of like the 9 to 5 job. So we get help from family, whether it be my mom and stuff. If I have to do a podcast at a certain time and she's not home, they'll watch them for an hour or an hour and a half before I'm finished. And it's all about teamwork, not just with your partner and with your kids. It's about teamwork with your family and your friends. And I think that I've been very blessed to have the family and friends that I have that allow me to do a lot of the things that I do. And if it wasn't for my partner, I would not be anywhere. I would say my stride and my success in this whole wrestling media game, and I'm not saying I'm the most successful person in the world. I'm like mid-level exception successful. But for all the molecule of the success I've got in wrestling media, it all goes back to her, because she's been a very important part of my growth in this field.
But so how do you think the wrestling media space could improve when it comes to diversity and just getting different voices on these big platforms?
I think that it's all about the people that are already there and them making the initiative to make that a point. I think that Sean Rossap of Fightful has done a great job of making a diverse cast of personalities over on his channel, whether it be, people from different ethnicities and backgrounds, like the fellas over on Grapsity, Righteous Reg, Phil Lindsay, who are amazing and have created something so essential to what we do in
Yeah,
wrestling media. And Denise Salcedo, Kate Elizabeth, who is amazing at everything she does, and such a hard worker who's and such a unique perspective on professional wrestling. So I think he's done a great job. I think Wrestle Talk has made improvements, whether it be having me on Wrestling Daily, then they had me and Sat doing the NXT review, and now Sat has become a such an integral part of what they do over on their main channel and podcast channel on Saturdays, doing the news show and the podcast show. And that comes down to someone like Luke Owen, who's been really working hard and really making it a point to not just have the same faces and giving more opportunities to people who are talented in so many different ways, like Sat. So it's all about the people that are already inside, and I want more people to open the door for different ethnicities, for different voices, for more women in this field, and more African Americans in the field, more Hispanics in this field, more Indians in this field. Like, there is so many different backgrounds, that I think Asians and Pacific Islanders, and that we don't have voices for in this wrestling media for. So there is so much more work to be done, but I'm so happy and glad of the growth that's been done in the 6 or so years that I've been doing it.
so, so if somebody came to you and said SP3, what is the perfect example of your body of work? What would it be in your opinion?
Uh, Perfect example of my body of work. I think that it would be the True Hill Heat flagship podcast, and especially the run of shows that we've had since last year, where really the True Hill Heat flagship podcast is kind of like my baby, where I put the most work in my week goes into that podcast, whether it be the amount of wrestling that I have to watch, with 7 hours or so from WWE. Now we got 5 hours from AEW. New Japan has anywhere between 2 to 5 shows a week, and I watch those. Impact Wrestling is 2 hours a week. ROH is 2 hours a week. Watch all of that. And then getting that onto a typing everything out and covering everything from those promotions at the end of the week on a Saturday. That is the most work that goes into it, as far as like prep before time. Then the podcast itself has sometimes gotten longer and longer, but it's always a good time. It's always a great time, because although we go in with an agenda, sometimes the agenda gets thrown off. Sometimes we talk about something too long, or something that gets the engagement and the interaction from the fans. But as far as like the growth of the YouTube channel and the YouTube channel in general, that is my body of work. That the True Hill Heat YouTube channel is like something that I've been wanting to do for the better part of I would say, since I was like 10, 11 years old. I wanted to create something and watch it grow and enjoy the process of the growth. And that's what I've been able to do with True Hill Heat. And to do it with your friends makes it even better.
But as we start wrapping it up, what would you say to any aspiring podcasters? Would it be just to start doing it and just see where it goes?
No, I would actually, because I feel like it's become like kind of generic advice to give. Is to get that advice, or the be yourself. And I know, Anthony, you heard that. You heard that plenty of times where you ask that question. Be yourself. Just do it and find out what happens. No, you have to first find something that you're passionate about and could talk to just about anybody about 4 hours. And then maybe you ask that friend to do it with you. And you just find a microphone, find a computer, put a screen in front of you, talk into the screen, and have the same conversation, but record it this time. I think that is the key. You have to find something you're passionate about. Now, everybody's going to be passionate about wrestling the way we are, Anthony. Not everybody's going to be passionate about movies. Not everybody's going to be passionate about basketball and sports. Not everybody's going to be passionate about video games. But there's somebody that's passionate about all those things. And if you are articulate and are passionate, those are the two key things that I feel you have to fill out the resume to become a podcaster first. You have to be able to be passionate about something and be able to articulate it to your audience. And any way you're able to do that, whether it's in a different language, sign language, doesn't matter how you speak it. If you're able to get your message across and be passionate about it, I think that's the two things that you need to be a podcaster more than anything.
So, two more questions. So, how did your family feel when you told them I'm gonna do wrestling media full time? Were they a bit editing, or were they like, go for it and go for it? We just want you to do whatever makes you happy. Or were they like, are you sure?
I would say the only person who was kind of like nervous about it would be my mother. My mother was just like, oh, I don't know. I mean, because I had been working and really kind of was building a career in working hotels. I had started off as a concierge and worked my way through like front desks and cleaning rooms and stuff, and became a manager by the time I was let go during the pandemic when the hotel closed down. So she was just like, so you're throwing all that away to talk about wrestling? Talk about wrestling? So yeah, that was kind of interesting conversation to have. And she always has her doubts, but she's always very supportive as well. Like she'll be like, oh, I saw you earlier. It popped up on my phone. You were talking about NXT or AE something W or whatever. And she was like, it popped up on my screen on my phone. I get notifications whenever you go live. So that type of support and hearing stuff like that, and the fact that my mom will like call me because she'd be like, Roman Reigns is on Jimmy Kimmel, you probably need that for work, I wanted to tell you. So she's trying to help me in her own unique way. So even the person that had doubts about it and wasn't as supportive as everybody else has come around and shown support in her own way. So yeah, it was overall, I would say, supportive for the most part though.
My final question. How would you like to be remembered as a human being?
Great father, funny, and yeah, I think that's pretty much. I'm the greatest job or the greatest role that I've ever been given in life is as a father, and the most important things in my life, the most important people in my life are my two twins, and I love them more than anything. So if I can be remembered as a great father, I don't really care about everything else after that.
So thank you for coming on SP3. Do you want to promote your socials or any other project you got coming up?
Yes, you can follow me on the Twitter machines or X machines. I don't know how it's going now. At True Heel SP3. Like I said before, True Heel Heat is the main channel where you can find me. That's TRU, no E. HEELHEAT, True Heel Heat wrestling YouTube channel. Just hit 8,000 subscribers. Our goal for the end of the year is 10,000, so we're trying to march toward there right now. So any support, we always appreciate that. Biggest support you can give us is at patreon.com/True Hill Heat. $3 a month, you get more exclusive content. You get the True Hill Heat prediction championship, which I am the prediction champion because I'm so good at it. I'm so good at it. But yeah, that's the best way way to show your support over there. But you can also find me on the Believe in Pro Wrestling podcast. That's BLEAV with Rick Ucchino every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. UK. You can find me over at the Fightful Overbook YouTube channel on FMC every Tuesday morning with Jeremy Lambert. That's at usually at 9 a.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. UK. You can also find me at the Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge YouTube channel Fridays after SmackDown with Rick Ucchino and Dutch Mantel. And then, yeah, all the content I already said. That's all the plugs I can give. But thank you so much, Anthony. I've been wanting to do this interview with you for a while, and I'm so glad you were able to have time and chat with me and learn about me. And I'm glad I got to make you laugh a few times. That always makes me happy.
So I appreciate you taking the time to come on. So thank you for watching, everyone. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video, please share. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on Spotify, do whatever you do on there to support it. And thank you very much. See you in a bit.